Dude, I think The Breakfast Club is just so fucking horrible of a movie. It's not good. And if you really think it is, look up the scene. Like, arguably, like, it's supposed to be like an emotional. I don't know if it's the climax, but just look at the comments too, because it is getting way too much credit than it absolutely deserves. Look up the scene, John Bender, you can do it on the boat, and he's mocking the nerds' fucking home life and how it's supposed to be so perfect, and probably coming out of a sense of insecurity. And in a sense, it does. The guy doesn't have anything for lunch. He starts fucking digging around Brian's lunch. He pulls out a thermos and he's like, "What is that supposed to be? Milk? Is that supposed to be milk?" I can't speak for like many generations at all, other than my own. I don't know. Maybe that was happening. People were just going class to class, first period to second period, and trying to make sure they drink their milk before it gets fucking room temperature. And the bit just bombs. And he doesn't even highlight when Brian's like, "Yeah, it's fucking soup, you fucking psychopath. Who the fuck brings milk, you fucking clockwork orange fucking raging sociopath?" And he doesn't even say, "Oh, what kind of soup?" That's something that could have been done there. But then it's like a granola bar, some apple juice, and PB&J with the crust cut off, which that's not filling at all. Maybe the soup's supposed to be a little filling. Maybe it's a hearty soup. I don't know, because John Bender and John Hughes wanted to spend most of the time making a fucking milk reference. They're like, "Oh, you fucking big RFK supporter drinking raw milk. You guys don't fucking drink oat milk. You're fucking up there with the baristas." Maybe because of PB&J, it's a fucking hearty soup. It's a fucking thermos of chili, maybe. And the PB&J with the crust cut off, that's a punchline as old as time. Ultimately John Bender's fault, because this kid's parents, Brian, they don't send him to school thinking the fucking school sociopath is going to be unboxing the lunch for everything like it's a fucking GQ 10 things I can't live without video, but with a bullying twist. Or if it's Brian's fault, that's a fucking preference. At least he did it. He didn't fucking ask his mom to cut. We don't know a lot of this information, and now Brian's front and center in front of the rest of the fucking. He's in front of two. I guess it's just the opinion of John Bender he cares about, and because there is a hierarchy. It's like, in a way, Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, and John Bender, they're all tied, but in different ways. And then it's Brian Johnson, and then it's the fucking girl with human lice rubbing it out of her hair to make it look like it's fucking snowing. And it's disgusting. Brian, he's low on the totem pole, nonetheless. In a way, John Bender's probably the highest on the totem pole because he can fucking murder any of those people with his bare hands. Although, if we're doing terms of murder, I think human lice, future mother of Madison school shooter, pass it down, keep it in the family, you carry out my own prophecy. I think she might be a thing to wear. Which I want to highlight this too. In what fucking universe does the jock who's in fucking detention for probably sodomizing a kid in the locker room with the fucking handle of a screwdriver that they stole from the shop teacher's toolbox? I'm not sure if that's how he went to detention. I'm a little rusty, but and you gotta admit, granted this is a movie plot, but when a high school team of boys really sodomize a classmate, they are wasting no time. You would think there's a time crunch, like the coach would poke his head into the locker room, be like, "Hurry up, faggots," and he can talk to them like that because he's a coach and he's just giving them tough love. And it's not like he's going in there and like scanning; he's just like hollering. And they're making it to where there's no scent on the trail. They're wasting no time. As soon as that squeak of the handle for the showers, they're fucking shoving a screwdriver up it. Anyways, I don't know how kids sodomize their weakest link of the fucking team, but the screwdriver just happened to pop in my mind. And I think there's a shop reference. That might be the real reason. I don't know. Something with to do with a shop teacher. It's a bullshit movie, and I don't need to remember it that well. As I was saying, if you don't believe me, this is a bullshit movie. Look up this scene. Bender, you can do it on the boat. And it is extremely laughable. The comments will say it's a masterful scene, but it's extremely funny, is what it is. And it's not good at all. I tangent like three different things. So the fact that Emilio Estevez and the fucking human lice girl end up together at the end, like giving each other a shot. Like, how quick is post nut reality? She is going to be back at the bottom of the food chain come Monday before the warning bell rings for the first period. That is insane. It's not going to happen. And Molly Ringwald fucking does a makeover for her, and she still looks like shit, mind you. And it just, you see the sparkle in Emilio Estevez, his fucking character. I see you in a new light. Don't touch your head. I understand I'm giving her a shot, but she still has human lice, and this still needs to be medically treated. That'll be our first date. The waiting room of a fucking urgent care. That's a huge plot hole, but I guess because John Bender and Molly Ringwald, that makes sense. That's a trope also as old as time. So, anyways, then John Bender starts mocking poor Brian Johnson's life, and he's like, "Is your dad Mr. fucking Rogers? Is it all good in the neighborhood? Who's your fucking dad?" And Brian just says so cleverly, "No, my dad's Mr. Johnson." And John Bender starts freaking out. He's fucking Larry Johnson, 2-time NBA All-Star Charlotte Hornets Larry Johnson. It doesn't work. I tried looking it up, and the movie came out literally when Larry Johnson was in high school. If anything, he's in the same universe as the Breakfast Club. Probably not, because he went to school in Texas, I believe, and Breakfast Club takes place probably in fucking Illinois, I'd imagine. And then he starts mocking, like basically saying, Brian's got the fucking ideal home life. Oh, it's a one big happy fucking family. And then Emilio Estevez decides to take the moral high ground after fucking shoving a screwdriver at the handle up some kid's ass, the weakest link of the wrestling team. There's a fucking rumor. The school that I started going when I lived in Ohio, right before I moved to Colorado for high school, there's a rumor the wrestlers all put their dicks on the bench inside the locker room, which is very unsanitary. But then again, now it's starting to make sense. Maybe those assholes put their dicks on the bench to see who's got the biggest inchworm. Yeah, maybe they do end up with the fucking human lice girl. Despite basically raping a kid by the second degree, Emilio Estevez says, "Do your home life," which Bender does and answers to the call. He just says his dad's crossing his arms and he's looking John Bender up and down, saying, "Oh, look if it ain't my good for nothing, retard, faggot, waste of a cum drop if it was a sock instead of your mother's quarter wet, half mangled, disgusting pussy." And his mom chimes in and she's like, "Don't forget, abortion survivor." And then John Bender's dad hits her in the face. "Shut up, bitch." He might have not said that, but this part he did say, "Go fetch me a turkey pot pie." And then I guess she just leaves scene, and then she's preheating the oven and trying to scramble together a frozen turkey pot pie. Eat nothing but the cheapest frozen pizzas on the market. If you're a piece of shit degenerate, you know exactly what brand I'm talking about. And it's sad, and I imagine if I had a sociopath that I raised and he's in school on Saturday and I was married, I imagine I would be saying, "Bitch, go fetch me a frozen Jack's pizza." And while the oven's preheating and we gotta wait for the time to cook, yeah, I guess I would be taking it out, my insecurities out on my son. The climax in the scene that he's presenting on stage for everyone, he's like, "No, Dad, what about you?" And then the dad's, "Huh?" And he's like, "No, Dad, what about you? What about me, you no good for nothing little piece of shit maggot?" he acts out a punch scene, which he's really animated. He punches and he throws his head back. His hair goes back, and he honestly just looks. This is a safe space. He kind of looks fucking hot. And then Emilio Estevez does the biggest no. You never want to tell a sociopath that became a sociopath through abuse and mistrial that they're lying and that they're not telling the truth. But he does. And so he's just, you think I'm fucking lying? You think I'm fucking lying? And so he gets the most serious, probably the most serious he's been all morning, and rolls up his long john sleeve. And there's a scar. And he's like, what do you think that is? Looks about the size of a fucking cigar, don't you think? And then, like, Emilio Estevez's character is, like, trying to squirm, and it's just not good acting. He does not want to see a cigar burn. And then John says, you want to know how I got these scars? No, he doesn't say that, but it would be funny if he did. That's what happens when you spill paint in the garage, which is, like, the biggest surprise in the entire movie is that John Bender's family has a home and there's a garage attached to it. And maybe it's prefab and not attached, but the garage nonetheless impressive for the Bender household. It wasn't kidding about that banner fucking year. And which I don't know. What is John Bender spilling paint for? Did it's just klutzy to me. Probably spilt it. His dad's going to the freezer, getting his own turkey pot pie from the deep freeze. I'm aware I'm being extremely generous, saying the Benders can afford a deep freeze in the garage. I'm aware of that. But he steps in paint, tracks a little bit of it outside of the puddle, and maybe a little bit of it in the house. And he's got to take off his working class boots. And it wasn't time to take off the boots because he likes to do that after his first drink or two. So, anyways, and then he's lighting up a cigar. So there's a lot of questions in my imagination on. He already had a cigar lit, and he goes up and puts it out on him. Finishes the cigar after the cleanup, after the turkey. I don't know. And this is probably the most quotable, at least the reference I thoroughly enjoy from the movie is John Bender says, "You know what? I don't need to be around you fucking dildos." And then walks off in the distance of the library, which the Breakfast Club library is really cool. I'm aware it's a movie, and they have a spiral staircase. Mine just had the run of the mill. The stairs are pushed against the wall, and honestly, they didn't let us go up there that much. And then he just knocks things off a shelf. He's like screaming. And he jumps on the shelf and then jumps onto the stairwell. And this is LOL material. He just is 20 feet away from them, maybe up 10 feet, if that, 8 feet. And he's just leaning against the stairwell. And I don't even remember how he reconciles with the group because it's a god awful movie. Higher ground is probably good to have, being the most raging lunatic in the Saturday school. I wouldn't want to disappear either. And I'm sure he still wants the attention because he obviously doesn't get enough of it. And when he does, he's just a human ashtray. Or he's poking fun at the expense of somebody in front of others, embarrassing them. It's a funny scene. I encourage you to look at it. Maybe thumb through the comments a little bit. Everyone's like, what a masterful scene. They're like, John Bender got extra Saturday schools because he fears his own home life. And that might be true. And I'm not here to victim shame. I never have been. But that is probably the reason. It's not a good scene. It sucks. I laughed. There's many scenes in movies that do strike an emotional chord. I can literally shed a tear without watching or rewatching the full movie. That's a horrible scene. I think The Breakfast Club gets too much hype than it deserves. Awful fucking movie. Funny though. The serious parts are so fucking funny. And it doesn't even matter. Emilio Estevez gets the female Charles Manson without the cult following, and John Bender gets Molly Ringwald, and Brian gets the sense of equality, which it's not. They make him write the note, and he gets to act as the voice of them all. But it's just, that's standard. We're going to have the smart kid do all the project, and we're going to get the same grade. And maybe they make a pact or some shit, but I don't fucking know, dude. That movie's so goddamn horrible. I'm sure it was good for at the time, but I just wasted time talking about it. That was a waste of an episode. But what do you expect from me, guys? What do you expect from me? Three uploads a week. Granted, it is about 20 minutes or less. I need to do better. I'll see you again on Wednesday.